Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff comparison versus Smackdown, I don't know what you want to call it, review of two Feu de Bois candles from Diptyque and LAFCO, New York. But first, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, and how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com, and please do give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice. But for now, let's dig into Feu de Bois. So what does Feu de Bois mean? In French, it is simply wood fire or firewood or a hearth fragrance. And so many brands, fine fragrance, mass market, personal fragrance, home fragrance, across the board have Feu de Bois fragrances. And you're going to get that smoky, wood, resinous, rich, comforting, kind of old world fragrance. And so I wanted to dig into the Feu de Bois fragrance itself because there are many variations and interpretations of that fragrance across brands and fragrance houses, and talk through two really popular different ones that evoke potentially different mood, moments, memory, space, places, or times. And to dig into the, frankly, world of Feu de Bois fragrances, we're going to start with Diptyque and LAFCO, New York. We're going to run through this review in 5 sections. First, we're going to discuss the packaging and presentation of the candles, talk about the scent stories that the brands share, get my nose on it, my interpretation of the fragrances, dig into the performance and quality, the strength, the throw, the projection of the wick and the wax, getting that fragrance up into the air and into your nose, the overall value, kind of an assessment between these two specific candles and brands, and of course, the overall assessment at the end. If you want to learn more about Diptyque or LAFCO, you can check out my earlier reviews. I do brand introductions on both. I have a playlist of past reviews on LAFCO, and I have one other review on Diptyque, their Genévrier Juniper candle. Let's look at the packaging of both. So we will start with the Diptyque Feu de Bois. This comes in a simple white box. This is their 6.5 ounce classic candle, a simple glass vessel. This single wick burns for approximately 50 hours and retails for $76. It is a cotton wick, and the wax is primarily paraffin, which we know right off the bat is a bit of a dirtier burn, less environmentally friendly, gets the fragrance easily up into the air, but does create typically a fair amount of soot and is not really considered to be the ideal or preferred wax, especially for luxury candles. Now let's check out the LAFCO Feu de Bois. This is their 15.5 ounce signature candle, also a single wick. This is an artisanal glass vessel, hand blown. It has a burn time of about 90 hours. Retails for $75, so $1 less than Diptyque for more than twice the wax. Also a cotton wick, and they use a soy paraffin blend, primarily soy, with just a touch of paraffin, which, because it is not as molecularly dense as the soy, helps to get the fragrance up into the air and into our noses, but the soy is more environmentally friendly and has a much cleaner burn. When it comes to both Diptyque and LAFCO, Feu de Bois is a core fragrance in both lines. Diptyque offers candles in the collection as small as 2.5 ounces, all the way up to a 51.3 ounce 5-wick candle with a retail price of a whopping $430. LAFCO similarly has a wide range of sizes in this fragrance, from 1.9 ounces up to an 86 ounce 4-wick candle, and that one retails for $375. Now let's dig into the fragrance or the scent stories that each brand shares. With LAFCO, this is part of their House and Home collection, where they put a space to each candle or each fragrance. This is considered their ski house candle, and they describe it as, transport your senses to a rustic country ski house. Evoking the intense aroma of decades of burned wood resins accumulating over time, Feu de Bois captures the warmth of the quintessential cozy fireplace. The mesmerizing light of the flames and rhythmic crackling of the blaze create a warm ambiance. Fresh pine falls on curls of sandalwood and rare Virginia cedarwood. Smoky leather accords, frankincense, and nuances of vanilla are tranquil and comforting. Diptyque says the herbarium of trees. A much more simple description. It is winter. In the hearth, the fire roars. This scented candle portrays the dense, smoky notes of the logs as they are gradually consumed. Getting into some of the specific notes within each of them so we can start to understand the nuances between them. LAFCO's primary notes are sandalwood, leather accord, and frankincense, but their entire build includes cedar leaf, mountain spruce, pine, patchouli, sandalwood, Virginia cedarwood, frankincense, amber, and myrrh, while Diptyque's notes include ambrox, cedar, guaiac and incense resin. Now, getting my nose on both, I would say is somewhat straightforward and very authentic in the sense that it is if you've walked into an old cabin built of logs in the 1700s. The fireplace is off, but you're getting the true remaining smoke in there. You're certainly getting the resins of those different woods, but I would almost say in some ways, this at times for me leans a bit toward mesquite. Not barbecue, not charcoal, not Americanized in that sense, but somewhat straightforward, and I almost want to say simplistic, beautifully built, but fairly straightforward in that this smells like a fireplace that maybe is still going, but I don't get as much warmth from this as I might have expected, but truly you get that smokiness as if the fire has just puttered out a bit and you're smelling the resins that have built up on the walls of the chimney for generations. Spot on when you want true fireplace fragrance. Getting into LAFCO, there are some similarities there. LAFCO is a bit more complex for me in the sense that I do smell the various woods, and authentically, yes, you could say this does smell like a hearth or a fireplace. I almost get the concept of the idea when they say a ski house, to where there's a bit more going on than just the fireplace itself. You get the woods, not as much of that direct smokiness itself. Some softer woods, when you bounce between your Virginia cedar, your sandalwood, your spruce, your pine, your cedar leaf, which is going to bring a bit cleaner, almost herbal aspect to the wood fragrance. And bringing in both myrrh and frankincense adds additional resins that, though they are coming from typically trees, it's not the wood itself. There is incense resin from the Feu de Bois from Diptyque, but I'm getting a bit wider of a variety of the resins in LAFCO. They do both have amber notes. The Diptyque Feu de Bois has ambrox, a synthetic molecule, and LAFCO has an unspecified amber. It could be something like an ambrox or also essential oils making an accord of amber, which will often be an accord made from benzoin, labdanum, vanillas, tonkas. When it comes to the fragrances themselves, I think they are both good, just really different styles, different types of what you're looking for. If you want a true woody, borderline smoky fireplace that's realistic and straightforward, the Diptyque Feu de Bois is likely up your alley. If you want something that is rich, conceptual, has the hearth, the burnt wood essence to it, but a bit more complexity going on that makes this Feu de Bois stand separately from a straightforward interpretation, then you would want to go for LAFCO. Now let's talk performance and quality. Again, the primary differences here are simply the size. You have single wicks in both different size vessels. You have a paraffin and you have a soy blend, primarily soy with a bit of paraffin in the LAFCO. And with most single wick candles, they both do have some performance issues as far as getting an even pool. That is more acceptable, or let's say not acceptable, but more understandable in the LAFCO because that is a fairly wide vessel. We're talking 3 3/4 of an inch, nearly 4 inches, versus your Diptyque, which is just shy of 3 inches, about 2 3/4 of an inch. With that, looking at the Diptyque, you can see here, this didn't have an entirely even burn. I did actually have to put a wrap of foil around it to get an even burn, a full pool. And though they are primarily paraffin wax, they actually do have a bit of drag, which typically paraffin has, though a sooty burn, a cleaner burn as far as leaving residue on the vessel. So it's a bit surprising to see that. Perhaps there's something in addition to the paraffin, some sort of vegetable added to that, perhaps soy, though it is proprietary and they do not share their formulation. But for a candle of this diameter, I would hope and expect to see a better quality burn that wouldn't require assistance. When you look at Dias and Durja, some sniff candles, some boy smell candles, even some Bath & Body Works candles, there are single wicks that do get full pools at this size diameter. And when it comes to LAFCO, same story there. It often does need a bit of assistance getting that full pull. I will say once you have the first 4 or 5 burns here, as this is a healthily slow burner, it is easier to get that full pull across. And this does have a very clean burn. As you can see, there's really not residue or drag on here. It is a very clean wax, even though it is that creamy white. It does not get discolored after multiple burns. Though when you light this, expect to light it for a good 3 to 4 hours before you are able to extinguish it. When it comes to the strength, throw, and projection of these, they're both quite solid. For its size, the Diptyque is fairly impressive. It is a heavy hitter with that smokiness, and you do get that as your primary note as it starts to kick off and spread through your room. For me, that primary note of the frankincense or that resinous warmth of the LAFCO Feu de Bois is what kicks off there and also has a healthy strength, throw, and projection in a slightly larger space due to the wax pull having that larger diameter. Now let's discuss value. I will say a couple of things. First of all, if we're talking true monetary value when it comes to the price per ounce or gram of wax, LAFCO is the major winner here. It is $1 cheaper and you're getting more than double the wax and nearly double the burn time, 90 hours versus 50 hours. So beyond that, if that doesn't make your choice for LAFCO, then it really comes down to the fragrance. That is the reason why we burn candles or have other fragrance, body care, etc. is we want that fragrance to evoke that mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time, hit our olfactory nerves and comfort us or transport us. And so if you prefer the true to life, straightforward smokiness of the Diptyque, then that's going to be the better value for you. And because these two fragrances are fairly different in their interpretation of Feu de Bois, you could potentially like one and dislike the other. For me, when I think of the packaging presentation, the vessel, the larger amount of wax, the cleaner burning soy wax formulation, and the actual fragrance itself, for me, LAFCO is the winner if I have to choose a winner here. They're both good candles within their own right that have really nice fragrances, and I would say fairly equal performance. But as I often say, I sometimes will like fragrances to be somewhat on the nose, but I do like to be a little bit more conceptual or have an interpretation of, in this case, Feu de Bois, and the Diptyque is classic, straightforward on the nose, and the LAFCO experiments a bit and adds some unique twists and layers to it that you're not going to get in other Feu de Bois, whereas you may find something quite similar to the Diptyque, frankly, in a less expensive brand. At the end of the day, these are both quality fragrances from quality brands, and you really can't go wrong with either. Though again, for me, if I had to choose a winner, it would be LAFCO in this versus. Let me know what you think if you've purchased either of these fragrances, what your thoughts are both on the fragrance itself as well as the performance. Let me know if there are any other fragrances or brands you'd like to see similar comparison versus videos on. And until next time, take care.